So hi everyone! Today we're going to talk about Ben and Jerry's, a little bit about their history, and let's get going! Their slogan is, I would live by every day. So company profile, actually Ben & Jerry's had a nice statement of mission that I took off from the internet. This was actually what they made. And so they actually have 3 different missions. So we have a product mission and it reads, to make, distribute, and sell the finest quality all-nature ice cream. We have an economic mission to operate the company on their sustainable finance basis of profitable growth, increasing value for our shareholders and expanding opportunities. And finally, the social mission is to operate the company in a way that actively recognizes the central role that businesses play in society by initiating innovative ways to improve the quality of a life locally, nationally, and internationally. But this is kind of what I thought Ben & Jerry's meant. It's just very delicious ice cream with a lot of flavors, but a bit expensive. I don't know about you guys, but I honestly thought Ben & Jerry is a bit expensive, especially from where I'm from. So we're gonna get started way back with these 2 guys. Who knows them? Oh my god! Yes, it is Ben and Jerry. But this is more like, let's get time traveling way back to this time. So that was like the old time of Ben and Jerry. A little bit about Ben first. We'll talk about Ben. As you guys can probably guess, Ben and Jerry comes from like this guy, one guy named Ben Cohen, and then Jerry Greenfield. Ha 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 ha, funny. So Ben was born in 1951. He grew up in New York. They were actually childhood friends, guys. He went to university in Colgate University. And he actually has a lot of experience in different places. He was a McDonald's cashier, a guard, a deliverer of pottery wheels, a mop boy, assistant superintendent, ER clerk, a taxi driver. And then after that, he settled to work as a craft teacher at a private school. So he basically did crafting like pottery because he really likes that type of sorts. But as he was being a teacher, he also began experimenting with his own ice cream. So you can kind of tell that he was interested in this field. Now on the right is Jerry Greenfield. He was also born in 1951 and also grew up in New York. Went to Oberlin College. And he actually there worked as an ice cream scooper in the school's cafeteria. But before he became the CEO or founder of Ben & Jerry's, he actually was in pre-med. Unfortunately, he didn't get into med school. And that's how this whole business started. Now, they actually started off being like, okay, so after Jerry, who couldn't get into med school, came back to New York and was like, Ben, we should maybe do a business together. So they were like, maybe we should make bagels, because they're delicious, they're really cute, I don't know. But unfortunately, the necessary equipment was very expensive. So then what they did was they actually took a course in ice cream making in Penn State for $5. Now apparently this course nowadays is like the course to take if you want to do any business related to ice cream or if you want to make ice cream. And one side note is that Ben has a severe anosmia, which means lack of sense of smell or taste, and they actually has to rely on like the feeling, mouth feeling and texture. And this actually will come into a big role of why Ben & Jerry's ice cream is in that state. We're gonna go, this was all 1977, they took their first class, and then the next year, this was actually their first Ben & Jerry. They've spent $12,000 in investment, $4,000 came from each other, so Ben's father paid for half of his share, and then the last $4,000 was from bank loans, and they opened an ice cream parlor in a gas station downtown in Burlington, Vermont. So they picked this area because it was actually a college town, but they didn't have an ice cream parlor. So it was kind of like a good, trade-off. Now, Ben was actually in charge of crepe, soups, and other food. But next year they actually dropped everything and they were gonna focus on ice cream, and Jerry made the ice cream. Because Ben was like his guinea pig or the tasty person, since he can't feel it since he has that thing, Jerry actually focused on making the ice cream more chunky and like intense flavor. That's why Ben and Jerry's are known for like stuff inside their ice cream. That was kind of like the scoop, being like 1994, yay, we made the Ben and Jerry's, yada yada yada. And that's actually the town Burlington right now. Now, as you guys can tell, my title says want free ice cream. This is where you guys can get a free ice cream. So to do marketing, what you guys have to do advertisement, do PR, like give stuff for free. For their 1-year anniversary, Ben & Jerry's decided to give a free cone day where you literally get a free cone of ice cream. So, if you guys want a Ben & Jerry ice cream for free, go on their anniversary. They'll probably give you a free ice cream. They also hosted like free movie festivals to get their name out. This is still a tradition nowadays to get the free cone. So, if you guys have time, stop by Ben & Jerry's really, really early. That happened in 1979. Business went great. A lot of like it was actually becoming really popular along with like the competitors. It was very diverse, especially because the flavor was much intense compared to all their competitors, that people were like, you know, I actually like Ben & Jerry's. They have like things inside and it's a very strong, intense flavor that I actually want to go for more of that side. Now in 1980, every year they have something new. Ben & Jerry's decided to make a pin to sell to local grocery stores. And they also rented space in a old spool and Bobbin Mills on South Chaplin Street in Burlington. So they've decided in 1980 to expand their business out into other places, other towns. So this one, I'm guessing it's one of their like cars too that they drive around selling ice cream. So if you guys, you know, seen those like old movies, they like have ice cream parlor and like, you know, sell stuff. That was their thing. This is actually there if you go to Vermont. Like, you can see this car. Now, in 1981, they expanded more. You know, this is actually becoming a bigger company. Every year, it's getting bigger. And nowadays, now in 1981, what they did was they opened their first franchise store in Shelburne, Vermont. This actually nowadays became something like this. So you guys could actually go to like if you ever go to Vermont, this is some place I actually want to check out. Now in 1987, they got their 2 signature flavors, which actually became a super big hit, that they were able to reach $32 million. So you guys are kind of wondering, you know, how are they getting all these money? Well, they've been getting new flavors out every year. They've had like 30 some flavors by like a couple of years. So this is how they got their money. Now in 1995, something interesting happened to Ben & Jerry's was that they actually decided to hold a contest called Yo, I'm Your CEO contest, which I thought this was interesting because they literally just had this where customers can apply for the job position as a CEO. So that being said, this guy, Robert Holland, who was a veteran of McKinsey & Co., now became the CEO. A little bit about this guy was that he grew up in Michigan, earned his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in 1962, and then earned his MBA. He actually didn't get the job through the contest, but people actually thought this was an interest, talent hunting. So then after that, there was a little issue with Ben & Jerry's. No matter how many like fancy flavors you have, people still tend to go for more like the vanilla flavors. Like vanilla is always like the ice cream. Like no matter like you come from like super chocolatey, like chunky chocolate, they end up returning to vanilla. So Ben & Jerry's, you could see that like downfall of like, well, you know, I really like your ice cream, but you know, I kind of miss vanilla. So that's when Haagen-Dazs, they're famous for their like soft, like healthy tasting, you know, not too intense. So it was like a battle between, like, they were going back to their side. So what Ben & Jerry's did was, you know, like, I mean, like, our brand is like the wacky flavors and the chunky mixed in. But, I guess we're gonna try something new called, the smooth and no chunk. We're not gonna have anything in our ice cream. It's just gonna be like plain ice cream maybe on one side and then, like chocolate on the other side. So I guess Hollander might have felt this pressure of like trying to get Ben & Jerry's. Something very interesting was created called the Flavor Graveyard. They actually have a graveyard. This is like a legit graveyard with the flavor names. It's in their factory in Vermont, and they just created this to, honor their flavors, to put it inside, be like, hey, we're never gonna come back with this flavor. So not only you guys can see it on the websites of what they're not making, but they're also having a factory. Also to note, don't forget like the ice cream target is for like young kids, which probably creating this was a good marketing way of having them visit the factory or like doing a lot of tours in the factory, which is another way of putting some incomes. 1997, they only had 4 flavors. One of them was Tusky G Chunk. It's like lost flavor so melted. Who could have foreseen it? Perhaps we misspelt it. Adieu, precious peanuts. They had like Dastardly Mash, Economic Church, Ethan Almond. Nowadays, they have 35 flavors with 300,000 annual visitors. So if you guys like think about how much money they also get in, just saying that like $5 per visitor, that's a lot of money. Now in 2000, this was kind of like their biggest event, was that the Unilever, which is an international food, purchased Ben & Jerry's for $326 million. They decided to be like, we're gonna buy it from you guys, but you guys will be running it separately with the other brands that they have. And one quote that they said was that in these critical global economic social mission, that they're hoping that the Ben & Jerry's will be still continuing with their creation, which is going to be great. 1 year later, Ben & Jerry's becomes very eco-friendly, guys. So decided to create something called an eco-friendly pint container. A lot of containers do is that they bleach the inside. So the reason why it's white, it's not because they're using like white stuff. They bleach the inside paperboard to a white color, which actually is not environmentally friendly. They are using this paperboard without no bleaching and hoping that other ice cream companies will do the same. And then, so due to what they described as increasing supply, quality, cost, and challenges, actually this decides to shut down in 2006. One thing that they put in there was like, we really hope that once we started this trend of like eco-friendly ice cream jar, that like other ice cream places would do the same. What ended up happening was that none of the ice cream sellers followed. They were like, it costs a lot to actually have this. I'm surprised they put cost challenge, which I thought, you wouldn't have a cost challenge. They changed it back to the bleached paperboard container. They also did other eco-friendly stuff. So I've noticed that their company is very like eco-friendly. So they did like an original scoop shop made out of recycled materials. They created a green team back in 1989, which actually focused on more like environmental education. They actually have a company bus with solar panels, which I thought that was cool. They are using the hormone-free milk in their production, and their commitment to reducing solid and dairy waste, recycling, and water and energy throughout the company's factory. So not only that, there are other eco-friendly. So from now till present, what they focused mostly on was very like eco-friendly stuff. 2005, during their Earth Day, what happened was that a U.S. Senate proposed the opening of Arctic National Wildfire Refuge to oil drilling. That was like a hard fancy word, but basically what happened was that U.S. Congress was like opposed to opening the refuge in Alaska for oil drilling, which is like really, really bad. So what Ben & Jerry's decided to do was like, you know what? I want to protest because this isn't something good to do. And how did they protest? Was by creating the largest baked Alaska, which is actually a type like of Ben & Jerry's flavor. And this ice cream like thing weighed 900 pounds, which is 410 kilograms, and placed it in front of U.S. Capitol building. So as you can see, that's that. Yeah, so it ended up being a world's largest baked Alaska dessert. It's being served with other protesters, but this was actually a thing. Also in 2007, the US Food and Drug Administration decided that it was okay to sell and consume meat and dairy products from cloned animals, and Ben & Jerry was like, I don't know about that. You sure? You sure that's a good idea? So this is another way of protesting, was basically dressed up as cows. They called it as we launched a truth or clone sequences demonstration, sending a herd of cow costume protesters to Washington, D.C. And like I said, the eco-friendly. They brought actually a Tesla car because obviously Tesla is run through electricity. So in 2015, they actually took a Tesla Model S car, converted that car into a ice cream truck. And what they did was in the front, you know how they don't have the engines in the front? So they placed the card swiper or everything kiosk in the front. In the back, they put like, you know, like the ice cream stuff inside. And inside, you guys can actually sit in to get the ice cream. So they actually drove this car around to like sell ice creams. And it was like the Tesla. Now, in 2016, guess who those guys are? Yep, it's Ben & Jerry's. The co-founders, along with other 100 activists, were arrested as part of Democracy Awakening's direct action on the steps of US Capitol buildings. So it just gets very political. And like obviously on like till 2000, they kept making ice creams. I thought that they would have their stock, or I thought they did an IPO. I don't think they did an IPO, so I just brought 2020's new flavors. You can see that Bernie's back, obviously, because we have the election. I don't know what that tastes like. So yeah, they're not public, guys, and they are very, very, very political. Just gotta say, it's super political. Some fun news, I guess, in the 2020s, in June 9th of 2020, they're starting to release this politically charged ice cream flavors. They had the Fudge 12 for Minnesota. I just wanted to end with two quotes that I thought was very interesting. I tried to stay away from the politic quotes, but one of them I thought was cute was, whenever you're sad, we'll always be here for you, which makes sense because Ben & Jerry's the ice cream. Like when you're sad, you're supposed to have the ice cream, and definitely have the ice cream of Ben & Jerry's. Also, Jerry said that if you open up the mind, the opportunity to address both profits and social conditions are limitless. It's a process of innovation. I'm actually leaning towards more like innovating, like innovation, startup, like entrepreneur. So I just skimmed through the end of political stuff. So that's Ben & Jerry's for you guys. I hope you guys had fun with learning about Ben & Jerry's, and that's all.